It's been said that Justice James Omotosho, a Nigerian judge, is planning to go to Sokoto Prison to confess and beg IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu over the role he played in the life sentence that was handed down to him. Yes, you heard me right. A judge who sentenced Kanu to life in prison is allegedly going to make a trip to Sokoto Prison to beg for forgiveness. Why is this such a big deal? Why are Nigerians talking about this? Let's break it down. But before we continue, do well to hit the subscribe button of this channel, like this video, and share so that it will go viral. Thank you. First, a little background. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has been at the center of a legal and political storm in Nigeria for years. His push for an independent Biafra has led to his arrest, detention, and several legal battles. In fact, his case has drawn international attention due to the way he's been treated by the Nigerian government. In 2021, Kanu was re-arrested after fleeing the country years earlier. Since then, his legal situation has been in the spotlight, with many people questioning the fairness of his trial and the evidence that was used against him. Kanu was sentenced to life in prison for charges related to treason. However, the situation took another twist when human rights activist Omoyele Sowore made a bold claim. Sowore suggested that the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu wasn't as straightforward as it appeared. According to Sowore, the entire sentencing was scripted, and Justice Omotosho, who sentenced Kanu, was just following orders from above. Sowore went on to compare the situation to an event that happened many years ago involving the legendary Nigerian musician Fela Kuti. If you know the story of Fela, you'll remember that in the 1980 seconds, he was jailed under questionable circumstances. The judge who sentenced Fela, according to Sowore, felt so much remorse for sending Fela to prison that the judge actually traveled to Maiduguri, Bama prison, to apologize in person. This is a major statement. A judge driving from Lagos to Maiduguri just to say sorry. Now, Sowore suggests that a similar situation is about to unfold with Justice Omotosho. According to him, Justice Omotosho will go to Sokoto Prison to personally apologize to Nnamdi Kanu and beg for forgiveness for his role in sentencing Kanu to life imprisonment. Now, this is a big claim. It's one of those things that seems almost too dramatic to be true, right? But it raises some important questions. Why would a judge go so far as to confess and beg for forgiveness? What would drive someone who played such a significant role in a case like Kanu's to do such a thing? And how does this fit into the broader picture of Nigeria's legal and political system? Let's take a moment to talk about the actual case of Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu was arrested in 2021 and charged with treason, terrorism, and other offenses. He was accused of inciting violence and unrest in the southeastern region of Nigeria, primarily through his broadcasts and calls for Biafran independence. His arrest and subsequent detention sparked protests and outrage, with many people believing that Kanu's detention was politically motivated. Some believe he was targeted for speaking out against the government and calling for the creation of Biafra. Now, when we look at the evidence that was presented in Kanu's case, it raises some serious questions. Many people, including Sowore, have pointed out that the evidence against Kanu was flimsy at best. They've said that the Nigerian government had little to no concrete evidence to support the charges of terrorism and treason against him. There were no weapons, no bombs, no clear proof of violent actions. The evidence that was presented included items like a radio transmitter, a microphone, and a notebook with Kanu's thoughts written down. Let me pause here and let that sink in. A notebook, a radio transmitter, and a microphone were apparently the key pieces of evidence used to lock up a man for life. Now, you tell me, does that sound like the kind of evidence that would justify a life sentence for someone accused of inciting terrorism? If you ask me, it raises a lot of doubts about the case. Many Nigerians have been vocal about the lack of real evidence against Kanu. Some believe that the government used the case as a way to silence dissent, to send a message to anyone who might challenge their authority. And when you consider the fact that the Nigerian government and judiciary have faced repeated criticism over their handling of political cases like this, it's not hard to see why people are upset. Now, back to the issue of Justice Omotosho. Why would he be visiting Sokoto Prison to apologize to Nnamdi Kanu? According to Sowore, it's all part of a larger political game. Sowore has suggested that the entire trial was staged, with various actors playing their parts in a script written by the government. The judge, Omotosho, was just following orders, according to Sowore. And now, With the public outcry and mounting pressure, Omotosho may be feeling the weight of what he did. If he truly does go to Sokoto Prison to apologize to Kanu, it would be a massive, historic move that could change the entire narrative around the case. But what does this mean for the future? If a judge goes to a prisoner to beg for forgiveness, what does that say about the state of justice in Nigeria? Does it mean that the system is starting to realize its mistakes, or is it just a political move? Some might argue that this could be a sign that Nigeria's justice system is slowly becoming more transparent and accountable. Others might say that it's just a move to save face and avoid further embarrassment. But one thing is clear, the story is far from over. Whether Justice Omotosho makes the trip to Sokoto or not, this case is far from finished. And it's not just about Nnamdi Kanu anymore. It's about the way Nigeria's legal system operates and the broader issues of justice, accountability, and human rights in the country. So, what do you think about all of this? Do you believe that Justice Omotosho will go to Sokoto Prison and apologize to Nnamdi Kanu? Or do you think this is just another piece of political drama meant to distract us? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this update, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more important stories like this. Now, looking at the broader implications of this whole situation, it's important to think about what this case represents for Nigeria. You see, Nnamdi Kanu's situation has become more than just a legal battle. It's become a symbol of how the Nigerian government handles dissent. The way Kanu was arrested, the charges that were brought against him, and the entire judicial process have left many wondering if justice was truly served, or if this was all about silencing a voice that many saw as a threat. And that's why this potential visit by Justice Omotosho to Sokoto Prison is so significant. It's not just a personal apology from a judge to a prisoner. It's a moment that could challenge how Nigerians view their justice system. It raises the question, can someone be held accountable for what they've done, even when they are part of the system? Can a judge go back and admit that they made a mistake, or that they were part of something unjust? If Omotosho does go ahead with this, it could signal a major shift in the way Nigerians view their judicial system and the politicians behind it. It might even spark a conversation about how the government handles political prisoners and dissent. The apology itself, if it happens, would bring about a lot of attention. People might start asking, if one judge can apologize, what about the others? What about the system as a whole? You know, this story also brings us to a larger issue, the role of power in the Nigerian political landscape. When you think about it, this case isn't just about Kanu. It's about the power dynamics between the judiciary, the government, and the people. It's about how power is used to control narratives, to shape public opinion, and, in some cases, to suppress those who dare to challenge the status quo. Just think about it. A man who was sentenced to life imprisonment on charges that many feel were politically motivated could end up being the catalyst for something much bigger. It could become a wake-up call for the Nigerian government, the judiciary, and the public. We've seen this happen before in other parts of the world, when one case becomes a turning point in the larger fight for justice and human rights. Could Kanu's case become that turning point for Nigeria? Could it lead to real, meaningful change in the country's approach to political cases and human rights? But here's where it gets tricky. In a country like Nigeria, where corruption and political influence often take center stage, can we truly expect justice to be served without some sort of external pressure? Is it even possible for the system to self-correct without a larger movement from the people? These are the tough questions that Nigerians, and indeed the world, are asking as this case unfolds. But what about the role of the international community? The way Kanu's case has played out has caught the attention of human rights organizations, foreign governments, and international bodies. Some have condemned his detention, calling it an infringement on his freedom of speech and his right to protest. Others have called for his release, citing the lack of evidence to justify his life sentence. Could international pressure be the factor that changes the course of this case? Could it force the Nigerian government to reconsider its stance on Kanu? The fact that this case is getting international attention only adds another layer to the complexity of the situation. In the world of diplomacy and global relations, countries are always paying attention to how each other treats political prisoners. If Kanu's case drags on without a fair resolution, it could have long-term consequences for Nigeria's image on the global stage. But let's return to the potential visit by Justice Omotosho. If this happens, what kind of message does it send to the public? Some might see it as a sign of humility and a willingness to admit mistakes. Others might view it as a last-ditch effort to save face and avoid further embarrassment. Either way, The attention it draws will be immense, and the conversation around this issue will only get louder. So, what happens next? Will Justice Omotosho actually make the trip to Sokoto? And if he does, will this lead to any real changes in Kanu's case or in the broader political landscape of Nigeria? Only time will tell. As we wait for more developments, it's clear that the story of Nnamdi Kanu and Justice Omotosho is far from over. This is just the beginning of what could become a major turning point in Nigeria's political and judicial history. And no matter what side of the issue you're on, one thing is for sure, this story is something you don't want to miss. If you're enjoying this discussion, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and of course, subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date with all the latest news and analysis. Your thoughts matter, so be sure to drop your comments below and let's keep the conversation going. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think Omotosho will go to Sokoto Prison and apologize to Kanu, or do you think this is just another political stunt?